Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and this is
Neverland Navigation Radio,
where we discuss some Disney magic that has just been brought to the Walt Disney World Resort and some upcoming magic coming to parks soon.
Yes, I'm super excited to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's not D23, but we're having this little bout of like new stuff opening and new stuff being announced.
Yeah, like in the middle of the summer heat.
I know. It's like a little mini D23 vibe.
Yeah.
Very fun. We've got a lot to discuss in terms of things that have either been updated or opened at Walt Disney World, and we are going to, at the end of this episode, discuss Disney's latest announcement, which is a big update to the animation courtyard area of Disney's Hollywood Studios, which I think we can all agree has been much needed and anticipated for quite some time.
Yes. This is all super exciting, magical stuff. Not like nothing giant right now,
right.
but fun little additions.
I would say that none of these announcements are particularly e-ticket.
Right.
But I will say that all of them together do make for more magical park experiences throughout the day. And I think that Disney needs some nice little stuff to sprinkle in right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's really been nice to have these little dashes of unexpected magical things pop up.
Yeah, and this is just not even that too far after we just got 2 brand new shows in Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of an eventful summer.
Agreed. It has been an eventful summer, and good on Disney for having all of these new additions that kind of keep the enthusiasm for the future of the parks high.
Yes.
This is coming right at the same time as Universal's Epic Universe is opening, so I think Disney is feeling the heat.
Oh, I didn't make a connection there, but you're right.
Yeah, I think that might, to entice people to come see things they haven't yet seen, I think is a little bit of the marketing strategy going on here. But I can't say that I have found them to be good additions, so I'm not mad about it.
Right.
It sounds great to me that we're getting new stuff to compete with Universal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before we dive too far into the news, we did want to thank you guys for joining us on this episode. If you'd like to help support the show, and we would really appreciate it, you can do that by subscribing to the show on whichever platform you found us on, and by heading over to our YouTube channel, Neverland Navigation Co., where we upload the podcast, and we also do dining reviews and videos from around the park.
Yes, and if you were thinking about taking any kind of trip, whether it be a Disney World trip, any kind of Disney trip, Epic Universe, a cruise vacation, please consider sending me an email at morgan@neverlandnavigation.com because I am a free-to-you travel agent. I can get you an amazing deal on your next trip, and as a thank you for booking with me, you get either free custom trip t-shirts for your family or attraction posters. I will talk to you about it when you send me an email or give me a phone call, which if you send me an email, I'll give you my phone number. But it's what I like to tell people, because most people don't know this, is if you are booking yourself a cruise or booking yourself a Disney or Universal vacation, you're paying the price of commission for your personal travel agent, whether you use one or not. It's baked into the price you're paying. So if you don't use a personal travel agent, then that company just pockets your extra money.
Right.
If you do use one, then your travel agent, which is a small business, gets that commission and then can do all the work you don't want to do, like waiting on the phone for hours to make a request or, I was on the phone for like 6 hours with Disney the other day. It was wild.
Man, bet you got those songs memorized.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was crazy. They give you the option to turn the songs off, and I'm like, no, I love the songs.
Yeah.
But after a while,
I've got no strings.
Yeah. But I got bounced around a bunch, and see, you guys don't want to have to deal with that. So anyway, it's a great reason to use a travel agent, even if you know what you're doing. Yeah. If you know what you're doing, it still doesn't hurt to let me be the one to hit the buttons to book it, and then you get your free custom t-shirts. It's what most of my clients choose.
Right.
And then if you're like, hey, we just decided we want to request a high floor for our hotel, or we need a pack and play, I need to put in a request, I'm the one that'll have to deal with that hold.
Right. Yes, get the most bang for your buck out of your Disney experience, and there are so few things in vacationing that are truly win-wins, and there is nothing quite as win-win as having a travel agent, where the travel agent benefits from the booking, and you benefit from the expertise of a certified travel planner.
Yeah, we have a website for this too. It's neverlandnavigation.com, and my new email is morgan@neverlandnavigation.com too. By the way, just throwing that back out there. All right.
All right.
On to the magic.
All right, let's dive in. There's so much to talk about that's coming to or has already arrived at Walt Disney World, but this is something that genuinely you and I have been looking forward to for years.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We-
It feels like decades, and actually it's kind of close to a full decade.
Very close. Very
Wild.
close. Yes, and of course the absence that we're speaking of is the lack of a nighttime parade
Yeah.
at the Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
I would consider this to be a classic Magic Kingdom park staple, being a nighttime parade.
Agreed. And I know a lot of people love a parade and some people don't love a parade.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm a little split because I obsessively love a night parade with the lights.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't care as much about the day parades.
Mm-hmm.
Like a day parade, I want to see maybe once, but I'm not going to go back. But this parade that we're talking about, man, I'd go to this every night.
Yeah, there's just something about...
It's extra magic.
It is extra magic. There's a certain thing about Disney where a nighttime parade... It's like in the DNA of what a perfect Magic Kingdom park day looks like for me.
Me too.
It's just something
It's a good
about...
ending.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, there's fireworks, and there's been a lot of wonderful fireworks shows, and I'm a huge fan of the current fireworks spectacular that plays at Magic Kingdom right now, happily ever after. But there's something iconic about the lineage of the Main Street Electrical Parade, Spectrum Magic, and now the latest edition that we have just received at Magic Kingdom Park, Disney Starlight, Dream the Night Away.
Yeah.
We obviously have anticipated the return of a nighttime parade for quite some time, and we didn't know if we would be getting a new version of something like Spectrum Magic or the Main Street Electrical Parade.
We didn't know what to expect.
Right. But we've heard at D23, the answer was that we were going to have a brand new concept for a nighttime parade, and it was going to be called Disney Starlight. And from the concept art, we were excited. It looked cool, but you never really know how something's going to be until you're there and you experience it with your own two eyes. So recently we took a trip to the Magic Kingdom and we staked out a good old spot in Frontierland.
We did.
Yes. And we camped out for a little while to make sure we had a good viewing area. And then we witnessed Disney Starlight.
Yes. And I will say we went towards the beginning of when it opened.
Yeah.
And we camped out.
Second day, I think.
Yeah, but I have been back since with my parents, and we did not camp out and just saw it from kind of the back, and you can still see it really well.
Okay, that's really good to know.
The floats are pretty high.
Yes.
What we couldn't see were the dancers, I think is what you would call the people in between. So I will say, and I hope this doesn't come across as a spoiler. Are we going to mention stuff?
If you would like to not hear specifics about the parade, then I would maybe fast forward through the Disney Starlight section. But I don't think we're going to get to. Yeah, I think we can discuss some specifics.
Okay. Well, so for example, one of the floats is a Peter Pan float. It might be my favorite float of all of them. Maybe
it is very impressive.
It's gorgeous, but my parents were like, oh, weird that there's not Tinkerbell. And I was like, oh, there is. She's just walking around in front of the float.
Okay, yeah.
So that we couldn't see that from where we were. But with that being said, if you're not a wait for an hour to stake out a good spot kind of person, you can still get a pretty good view.
Right.
You know what I mean? Still a pretty good experience. Not perfect, but I'd say better than a lot of the viewing I've had trying to look at the castle, even with a staked out view for the fireworks.
Right. And I will say something I did notice about Disney Starlight is that there are not a lot of, apart from Tinkerbell, and there are some others, there's not a ton of walk-around characters going on in the parade.
Tinkerbell, I think, was the only character.
Yeah.
And the rest were just like 4 dancers that had like light up butterflies on top of them.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, several variations of that same
Tinkerbell,
idea.
I think, is the only thing that's really like, oh, you know, I missed this part of it. Yeah.
Yes. And I do really enjoy that Tinkerbell light up costume that they have for her. I think she looks incredible. But that being said, I don't think it's such a bad thing that, you know, the only thing that you miss if you're a last minute walker-upper is, you know, a little bit of Tinkerbell. It's all right, you know, for the experience. I think that's a good thing. And obviously the main attraction is the floats themselves.
Yeah.
Before we dive into the list, and I'll go through each float a little bit.
Oh, okay.
What do you think of the name Disney Starlight?
I hadn't really given it much thought. I'm fine with it.
Fair enough. I think it's really good. I think it's like, I think, first of all, it tells you it's nighttime. I think Starlight is like an enchanting little magical name.
Yeah.
And I think that it reminds me of Wishes, the fireworks spectacular. And I just think it's a good little encapsulation of the story, which is that there's, you know, the Magic Kingdom has been kissed by Starlight, is what they say.
Okay.
And it's brought to life all these fantastical visions, which I think is a very fun little story for the parade. I feel like them giving the parades a loose story is like almost, it borders between being a little silly and being a little, you know, fun little bit of Disney whimsy.
Silly is what I was going to say, because it's not enough of a story, right? Unless I don't know it.
No, I think you know it. That's it.
Yeah. The Wishing Star, I think, was a loose theme throughout a lot of Disney history.
Yeah.
And then they kind of brought it together with the movie Disney Wish, which unfortunately didn't do well, although I loved it. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like the Wishing Star is what I think of when I think of Starlight.
Agreed. I think the opening the parade with the Blue Fairy
makes it to really like tells you that is what they were thinking too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that
interpretation
of the story, or the interpretation of Starlight. I think that really gives it some old Disney charm.
Yeah. When it comes to like pretty much this exact topic within this topic, there is one semi-complaint that I have, and it is, do you want me to mention it now or wait till you get to the float?
No, that's okay.
Okay, so one of the floats is a Wish movie float.
Yeah.
And I think that was really smart of them to do, I guess, because the Wishing Star goes along with the Starlight theme.
Really fits.
But he was the star from the film, which I thought was the most iconic part of the film.
Yeah.
Was hardly featured on the float.
Yes.
He was like
an animation on screen.
Yeah, like a projection or whatever. Yeah. I don't know technically what it was. But also he was small, which in the movie he wasn't as small. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. The design of the float is a tree, and within the hollow of a tree, there's like an LED screen on either side. And the star appears as a screen animation within it, but he appears and disappears from either side,
right?
Like several of the parade characters in real life would on an actual float,
right?
But it's a little strange to have a screen projection or a screen animation that's not always on, facing the audience. And
it didn't give that really bright golden color that this character has.
Yeah.
And I think that star, it was the icon of the movie. Like you saw that star and you knew what movie.
Yes.
You know, and unfortunately, I think people are going to be confused about this float because the movie didn't do well.
Right.
And then you don't have the thing that everybody saw in the previews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From far away, and I'm trying to figure out what's coming while it's still too far because that's how my brain works. Because of the willow tree, it looked a little bit like it was going to be Pocahontas from far away.
Agreed.
And I thought that maybe that was just me or my eyes or whatever. And then my mom said the same thing the next day. And we are people that saw the movie.
Right.
The Wish movie. I saw it. My mom saw it. So then you add on that most people didn't see that movie.
I know.
I think it's going to be very confusing. And I think it wouldn't have been confusing if there was a giant golden star.
I know. It is a little bit strange. Do you feel like there's a possibility as time goes on and that movie perhaps falls more into obscurity that they swap that with something?
I don't know. How long do you anticipate this parade going?
I would say that there's enough budget into the parade. I mean, it seems to me
I think
that
it's
there was
gonna
enough
last.
budget in the parade that they intend it to be somewhat permanent.
Yeah, I don't think they would swap it, but I don't know.
You never
know.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think they could have done a better job of making it very obvious what it was.
I think it's also hurt by the placement within the parade.
Yeah.
Because you start very strong with the Blue Fairy, who's on this gorgeous, I would say 2-story tall dress.
Yeah.
Situation, and she's gliding down Main Street, and the entire thing is lit up in these color changing lights. And it's a very, not only is the image very striking, but just the way that the colors shimmer in the light animation is also very, it's like breathtaking.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And then her costume is also light up, and she's got like an LED wand as well. So very strong start to the parade thematically and visually. And then you move into what I think is one of the highlights of the whole thing, which we discussed, is the Peter Pan float.
Oh, that's not next, is it?
According to this, maybe is this,
I don't think this is in order.
This might be out of order. Oh,
yeah.
No.
And I say that because I just saw it with them, and I remember thinking it was towards the end.
I think it is toward the end. I think you're right.
So I'm not sure about the order, but I will say I just think that if they had done this float right, they could have been promoting the movie Wish, and instead it's just going to be confusing.
It is, yeah.
Because the goat, the little goat that's in there, I forget his name. I saw the movie in theaters, but it's been a minute.
Yes.
He is a big part of the movie and maybe recognizable, but you don't see him very well. He's smaller, Valentino, that's right.
Yes. Okay, so Wish actually goes right after the Blue Fairy. It's like the second thing that you see.
Yeah.
I think that is also, unfortunately, not a great placement because
it would be if there was the big star, because you're like, oh, wishing star.
Or if Wish had done more business at the box office, perhaps, because that is a star slot there, spot number 2.
Right.
You've got the Blue Fairy opening the thing, and then she's like the prologue, and then you want like a big opening number, like a really, a really show-stopping kind of thing.
The second one?
Yes.
Okay.
And so having Wish come out second is perplexing to me.
Yeah.
Even if Wish was going to be included while they were making Wish and it had to be created in tandem, I would not put it so early in the show, just in the event that it wasn't a huge, cultural impact. So it was strange to see Wish. That being said, I do think the float itself is beautiful. I love the color, there's pinks and purples and blues going on that I think are really beautiful, and I think they represented that princess, Asha, very well in the actual float.
Yeah.
I also really like the musical choices that they made for this part of the float. The whole thing has this, dance pop kind of feel to it that, resembles that electronic feeling of the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very good choice for this, and I think you really start to get a feel for that at this float, which I think is very cool. But yeah, it is a little bit weird.
Yeah. And then that might be my only complaint, because I do wish that they would have the float would have done a better job of promoting the movie, because I think it was a good movie and I think it's underrated, which I think it's unfortunate that it didn't do well personally. But anyway.
Right.
Other than that, I think that all the other floats that we saw, we were talking about it after the fact. We didn't think there were any big, any surprising misses, right?
No, I don't think so. The next one is the Encanto one, which I thought it's like a big candle.
Yeah.
Is the main focal point of the float.
Right.
And I thought that was a good choice to represent the film. I didn't think it was the most mesmerizing of all of them, maybe.
Right.
But it's still I think it's a good representation of the movie. They've got the butterfly, that the butterfly is like a symbol of the magic in the movie, and I think it's cool that they have Mirabelle kind of riding on that. But I think our favorite part about this float was the back.
Yeah, very cool that they incorporated Bruno into this float. It's surprising.
Agreed. He was like doing his classic nervous rambling from the back balcony of the float. I thought that was a fun comedic element of it, and I think that his inclusion as a character is really fun.
Yeah, the actor that was playing him, I feel like did a really good job of seeming flustered at the experience of being on a float.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought it was a little strange that they included one sister but not the other, but
yes.
It wasn't like a deal breaker for me.
I think Isabella swinging on the swing is a fun inclusion of the float.
But she's on one side, so the other side couldn't see.
I was just about to say, I would say either put her up top somehow and incorporate the candle in a different way, and that would be fine. Or have Isabella on one side and Luisa on the other.
That's what makes sense.
Agreed. I did. The second I saw the float, that is what I thought.
Yeah, it's very strange that they did one and not the other. I thought that was very strange.
Agreed.
But again, we were surprised in a good way about Bruno. So the actor that was playing Mirabelle also, she was doing a great job too.
Agreed. Then we move on to the Frozen 2
Is
unit.
actor the appropriate thing I should be saying?
Sure, performer, actor. Okay. Frozen 2 comes next, and this is when we get a big group of people that have these, like, diamond shapes. If you saw Frozen 2, you'll know that each of the crystals represent a different element, and then they transform into the dress that Elsa wears to be the fifth spirit that unites the elements together. It's a big part of the story, but I think the story of that movie is a little dense for some people. But in Frozen 2, the part of the parade, they use that as like the intro to the float, and then the float itself is this big like ice tower. And Elsa's on the front on this big structure, and she's in her Show Yourself Frozen 2 outfit. And then Anna and Olaf appear as animations on the screen that is behind her. How do we feel about this being mostly screen?
I feel like, I'm guessing you're not going to like it, but I think that it was really well done. Yeah, I don't know. I was surprised at how, like, crystal clear it was. You know what I mean? So I don't mind a combination of screen and live performers. Yeah. I think it was fine.
Yeah, the reason Morgan's saying that she doesn't think that I would enjoy this is because I don't like screens replacing scenery in a lot of cases in terms of like dark rides, shows, things like that. I do think in this case it was very tasteful. Yeah. I think it was well blended. I think there should be another character on this float. I do too. Olaf or Anna or something.
I would have loved Kristoff and Sven kind of as a nod to their In the Woods section of that movie, which I think is at the very least the most interesting part of the movie. You know what I mean?
It's a showstopper.
It's crazy. When we saw that movie in theaters, and I was like, what is happening right now? You know what I mean? I'll never forget the feeling that I had when this was happening. So, yeah, I would have loved to see that. Sven would make a great,
animatronic.
Yeah, or costume. Could they do that? Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah, that's how they do it on Broadway. I would say,
or animatronic for sure.
In Disneyland Paris, there was a Frozen 2 parade to promote the film. Oh, just
a whole parade.
Yeah, wow. It was like fall trees and stuff like that. It was cool. Kristoff and Sven were on the back of one of the floats as like a trailer. And I think that is a great, like Bruno. I think that's a great placement for them.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
so funny.
And like Bruno, even though I don't feel like 95% of the movie is other stuff going on, but that was the weird, catchy, memorable part of the movie. Yeah.
Definitely.
Both of those. So, yeah, that would have been cool. But
that being said,
it does seem like a half float if it just had Elsa, right?
Yeah, agreed. It is a little bit strange. The back did have these really cool crystal designs on it and these swirling streams of color, which I thought were really beautiful.
It was very pretty.
You have to give them credit for the incredible placement of these like lights and the animations that they're doing within the lights.
Yeah, choreography of the lights, if you will. Yes. Amazing.
Beautiful. It really took me back to SpectroMagic.
I know.
And to the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah.
It was like truly an updated version. And although this was a primarily screen-based float, I do think the lights were beautiful, and I loved to see how little they were relying on screens and how much it was primarily the lights doing the talking.
Yes, it was only maybe for the entire parade, maybe 5% screens.
Yeah.
And when they did it, it was really well done. It wasn't like, I didn't feel like they were being cheap. You know what I mean?
It was using the screens.
Except for that star thing. I don't get it.
I know. That is such a silly screen.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay.
But apart from that, I agree with you that like generally the screens were well blended. They were showing things that it made sense to have on a screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated that. And then we get this princess unit, this royal unit that has Aurora and Philip and Tiana and Naveen dancing, kind of sharing like a ballroom floor type of situation, which I think I liked seeing these couples.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Tiana all lit up in her outfit was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Really like that. And then we have Cinderella and Prince Charming, and we were wondering if Cinderella would make an appearance.
Well, yeah, in the promo stuff, you saw Cinderella, so you know she would. We just didn't know how big of an appearance she would make.
Yeah.
This was like it was shared, so I don't know.
Yes, she's definitely in the lineup of princesses.
They do this a lot with princesses now. Like, they mash them all together, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't mind it. I think Prince Charming and Cinderella had the most featured spot of those princesses, but I still do. I mean, I shouldn't have in my brain imagined what it could be, because that's always the problem.
I know,
but
same.
I was imagining a carriage lit up or something, which would have been, or like a glass slipper made of lights or something crazy.
Yes, same.
Now, yeah, so in that way, her spot might not have been quite that glamorous. I will say, though, the execution of her, like, light blue dress with the lights was, like, stunning.
Gorgeous.
Thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we also have, apparently this float is designed as a tribute to Mary Blair's original concept artwork for Cinderella. I didn't pick up on that, but
I didn't either. Interesting.
Then we move into what I would say...
Deep cut. Nobody's going to know that.
The concept art?
Yeah.
If anyone would know it, it's me. I've seen the concept art.
Right.
I get it.
Interesting.
The next float we have is a showstopper. I think we were all like freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
Coco.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we had stood there while we were waiting for the hour and made guesses of what would be there. And this was like a joke guess, because this is my husband's favorite Pixar movie.
It's Pixar.
Yeah.
We were like, there's not going to be Pixar in this.
Yeah. We were like, where does it make sense for there to be Pixar in there? But there it was, and it was amazing.
It fit.
It fit.
I loved the way they used the lights.
Not with a star, but...
No, but like, it felt nighttime.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, the lights were gorgeous. The colors, they focused on that orange... Which is, like, I would say, the color of Coco.
Agreed. The thing that the bridge is made out of.
Right.
I also think that they, the backdrop of the float was a big Bienvenido sign
Yeah.
light up, which was very nighttime, very cool.
Yeah.
And then they had like a backdrop of fireworks
That was so cool.
exploded into the shape of skulls, which is from the film. And I think it's like a perfect touch because...
And that was with lights, not projection, right?
Exactly, yeah. It was like a light up field that would, illuminate as fireworks.
Very
It reminded me of old school fiber optics. It brought me back to like a Muppet Vision 3D or Rio well, now it's the Three Caballeros with the fireworks in the sky. I just thought that was such a nice touch to that float. I loved that.
Yeah, and the back has the city. And then there was in the front, Miguel was playing the guitar, and there's a giant Pepita, and then a smaller Dante, and they were just great. It was a great float.
Great float.
We were super excited to see this one. Different, that princess mashup float, totally expected that.
Yeah.
Almost in a sad way, because throwing multiple couples, that one of them is a princess, dancing, it's like a given almost to the point where it maybe shouldn't be.
We've seen it.
Quite a bit. It's in Phantasmic, you know what I mean?
In Festival of Fantasy, in everything.
But this Coco one, very original, and we were blown away.
A very fun way to shake up the parade. I totally agree.
What was next?
Moana.
Oh my gosh, another surprise one that we kind of joked about. I wonder, Jake actually called this exactly.
This is a contender for one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure.
The light up, when I first saw it, it's like light up waves. Yeah. It's like the base, which is already really cool.
Moving waves, yeah.
Moving waves, amazing. And then Moana is on top of the waves in the boat from the movie, and she's like performing from atop the boat, and the pig. Oh, Pua and Hey Hey are there on the boat, which is very cute. But then emerging from the waves on like an animated arm is like the manta ray.
Right, the grandma.
Yeah, the grandma. And the manta ray. I
was like, go grandma.
Like splashes up and illuminates.
Yeah.
Which is like...
surprising.
The movement of it is so... it dropped my jaw.
Yeah.
So
very
good.
Unexpected. This is what I was hoping for. The Coco one, this one, it really showed the advancements in tech, the surprise elements, characters and movies that we haven't seen in parades before, or night parades at least.
Right.
I was very impressed with this one as well.
We loved it.
And
then was Peter Pan.
Which was a little bit more expected. We have seen this before, but the way that they did it was so unique.
Yes.
I loved this. It had a Tower of London, but it was like kind of askew, and then the cityscape, and they were supposed to be flying above all of it.
Yeah, it was like I loved the way that they incorporated unexpected angles into the architecture of the London Tower and of the cityscape. And then there was this big trail of spiraling pixie dust behind them.
And you have to listen to them to really understand that they're supposed to be flying, the two characters that you see are supposed to be flying above the city.
Yeah.
I hope people get that.
Right.
Because otherwise it just looks like, these are elements from Peter Pan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is a story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, and if you listen, they talk about it.
Yes, Wendy's like, it looks so beautiful from up here.
Yes, exactly.
They're really, they're trying to nudge the audience in the right direction.
Right.
Which I think is very smart. But I think this one is very effective and whimsical.
Yeah.
I just thought it was, to follow up Coco and Moana, modern favorites, with something so classic as Peter Pan in like a really creative way.
Unique, I love that.
Oh, gave me the chills. Loved it. Then we've got the big train.
So have you is this the last one you're going to talk about? Because that's the end.
Yeah.
So jumping back to the couples mashup one.
Okay.
There were 3 more couples in there that we didn't talk about. And when you didn't mention them, I was like, maybe they had their own float later and I'm just getting confused. But there were the couple from Tangled were in a boat.
They're at the end. They're part of this train thing.
Oh, okay. This was another couples mashup thing. I get why I thought that.
This float is a little weird.
This is confusing, yeah.
This is strange.
So the front of it is the train. It's got to be Casey Jr., right?
Casey Jr.
And they did use a screen to make his face, right? Or was that lights?
That was a screen.
Okay. And that was a really well done, really well placed screen because it gave this train an animated facial expression.
Cool.
Yeah, loved it.
I was cool with that.
Okay, then we moved on to some of the classic characters.
And it should be said that Casey Jr., the train, was part of the Main Street Electrical Parade as like a light-up train as well. Yeah. So like I thought that was like
great,
a brilliant way to end the parade.
I agree.
To like recognize that this is part of a line of electrical parades, and that it's paying tribute to that. I was like, that's appropriate.
That's heartwarming
and cool. But yeah, so you've got Casey Jr. and he's got Goofy and Donald toward the front of the train,
right?
Which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
And then and Daisy's there. Sorry, Daisy. And then that's followed by Goofy, Donald, Daisy, and Pluto are all there apparently.
Right. And then it gets weird, right?
And then it gets weird.
Okay. Then there's Snow White.
Then there's that, there's like a mine cart in the train, and the mine cart has Snow White and Dopey in it, which is unexpected to begin with, because you would almost expect her to be with the prince.
Yeah, well, I don't mind that.
I'm cool.
You know what I mean?
I'm
because
cool with it. I like Dopey.
Yeah, me too.
He can hang.
The prince and princess and the dancing, it's just been done. It's been done. It's in everything. Yeah. So, okay. Anyway, moving on.
Especially that prince. He's so boring.
Right. Most people don't even know his name. Go on.
Yeah. Florian or something? Yeah, it's a deep cut. Then we've got a little sailboat with Rapunzel and Flynn. Yes, and
I'm just... The placement of this, these are gorgeous.
Beautiful
little weirdly stacked.
They're almost like the cars in the train, but they're very much their own thing.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know if it was there, because it doesn't make sense in the train.
It's weird. That's not a train, that's a boat.
Yeah, that's a boat. that's a magic carpet. You know what I mean?
It doesn't
make sense.
I'm cool with it. I think it's pretty, but it is weird.
It is weird. It's
from like a storytelling
I guess
angle.
They were like, we don't want to have more than this many floats, so let's see how many we can throw into the end.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get why. It makes sense that these characters are clustered together for me. It's just the way that they did it, like as part of a train, just seemed strange. If they're going to be on a train, I feel like they would be in train cars. It's weird to have them. I was happy to see them on their own individual vehicles, but that as part of a train is confusing visually to me.
Yes. Okay, so we mentioned Rapunzel and Flynn. Yep. So the next one,
a magic carpet with Aladdin and Jasmine.
Okay, they're just flying, I guess, right along with that boat on this train.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, everybody's on the train, but not. And then the last carriage is Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. They're on top of a big carriage thing at the end of the train, and they've got new costumes. And then there's the final float, and
it just says the name Starlight in lights.
Listen to this. This is from the Disney Wiki. The final float, which features the parade's logo, I'm with you, remember that, features an animated stellar version of Jiminy Cricket on the back.
Oh, yeah.
As a reference to Spectrum Magic.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. I thought it had to do with the Starlight thing.
I didn't even notice Jiminy Cricket.
Okay.
Maybe my bad. I was recording a video, so I was a little focused.
It was a screen, right?
This says, I don't know what it was.
I think it was a screen.
Cool.
And he was pretty small.
Okay.
So fair that you didn't notice.
I love it.
I don't even know if I noticed it the first time or the second time that I went to see it.
Yeah. I love that idea of
I
having
love the
Jiminy
idea
Cricket
too. I don't know how many people are going to think of that as a nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it works with the Starlight wishing star kind of theme.
And Jiminy Cricket was also the narrator of Wishes.
Sure.
So sure. Yeah, sure. Are we in the stretching room?
He's an OG. Yeah, we are.
This podcast should be called The Stretching Room because all we do is stretch.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but
you guys gonna stick with us if we change the name?
Yeah, stick with us. All it is, like, as a reference, I like it. I think it's cool. I guess the execution is a little wonky. But I also like that.
Well, you might not have seen it because that last float is pretty low to the ground because it's just like the logo, like the exit.
Yeah.
And then, like, of course, everybody just piles into the middle of the street as soon as it goes by.
Yeah.
So
it's at a spot where you might not see that.
Yeah.
Totally. But I do like that. Then the button at the end is Pinocchio. I mean, it's Jiminy Cricket, but he's from Pinocchio.
Mm-hmm.
And then the beginning was the Blue Fairy from
Yeah,
Pinocchio.
right.
That's...
Book ended with Pinocchio, yeah.
I like that for storytelling reasons.
I do too.
Okay, I've seen some complaints online that there's not enough, like, characters walking around and there's not enough, like, people in between the floats.
I don't care about that.
I don't care about that either. I think the floats are the star, and I think the floats are really darn good.
Yeah. I guess it depends on what you want out of a parade. If you want to interact with, the performers, yeah, there's not as much opportunity for that in this. But, that's not why I'm there, so...
I'm going to say...
I always feel a little awkward.
We loved this parade.
Yeah.
Overall, I was enthralled by this parade.
I was in tears the first time we saw it. It was gorgeous. It was everything I wanted.
Yeah. A beautiful blend of, old school Disney stuff in that classic Main Street Electrical Parade kind of way.
Right.
And new stuff with, a fun imagination.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, so pretty.
I loved it. And something else I love about it is the poster.
Oh, yeah. It's really pretty.
The poster is so, so good. You can see it on the way into the park. It's got representations of all of the different floats. Well, not all of them, but a bunch of the different floats on it. Yeah. Something funny is that originally this poster shows Elsa in her Frozen 1 dress, but in the parade, she's in her Frozen 2 dress. And I don't care, but I think it's cool. I think it's funny and an interesting... perhaps insight into the fact that originally maybe they were thinking Frozen 1. They're like, no, let's go for Frozen 2.
Well, and good.
Fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
Cool.
And then we really like the music in this as well.
Yeah.
Like the bouncy electronic.
Yeah. I will tell you from my second time seeing it, that it can be difficult to hear what each float wants you to hear if you're not if you didn't stake out a good spot.
Oh.
Yeah, because
okay.
I think what they're individually saying, and maybe I think each float probably, and maybe maybe I'm guessing this is normal, has speakers in it and is playing, if the character's saying something, or if there's a song that's just supposed to be for that float, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not kind of on top of it, then you're more hearing the song,
the background music.
Yeah, so it's a little harder. That might be a good reason to stake out a good spot.
I would recommend doing what we did. We had a great experience.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, maybe get there a little early. The hype will die down a little bit at some point where it won't be as crazy.
Yeah, we were there on night 2, and then I went with my parents on night 4, and it wasn't crazy everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, you could have gotten there just 30 minutes early and still gotten a decent spot, I think.
Yeah. I think that's a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially it's a good parade. Get there a little early, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, something else I just saw on here, thanks Disney Wiki, is that at the very end, the song that they play is Baroque Hoedown, which is a crazy name for something. But, okay. It's a song originally released in 1967 by Jean-Jacques Perry and Gershon Kingsley. I don't know who those people are. On an album called Kaleidoscopic Vibrations. But the reason this is important, or cool, I guess, is because most people know that as the theme of the Main Street Electrical Parade and the Electrical Water Pageant.
I told you.
Which Morgan did say, 100%. But, I love that as part of the parade.
Yeah, I was like, I know this music.
You do. It's called Baroque Hoedown.
I just did not know that.
Of course we didn't. That's so wild.
That's wild.
Absolutely wild.
Funny.
But how fun.
Yeah, cool.
Love that in there.
I'm glad to get confirmation on that because I never looked it up to find out if I was crazy or not.
Your ears have not betrayed you.
Yay.
You were correct all along. And yeah, I think that was really fun for the finale. Overall, I think we can agree. Great parade.
Great parade. We totally recommend this. This is the best thing that's happened to Disney in a while.
Agreed.
This is something we're going to go back and see and even deal with the monorail every once in a while. I'm going to say it's worth it. Yeah. So, and right now they're doing 2 nightly shows. I don't know how long that'll last, but they're doing a 9 and 11.
Right.
So, it's great. It's wonderful. I hope it lasts forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they want to do some updates here and there, I just hope it keeps going because the 8 years or whatever it was that we went without a night parade were ridiculous.
I agree. I think this is something to look forward to at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, and night is the best time to be in Magic Kingdom because the lights in general are great. It's cooler. The castle lit up.
We love Christmas lights. We love vibrant color lights.
Yeah.
We love fiber optics. We love firework lights. We love all that stuff.
Yeah.
And this just scratches that. It's so good.
It does. Yeah, it does.
We love it.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a couple other changes. We spent forever talking about Starlight, so we're gonna go through them kind of quick.
This episode mostly Starlight, but yeah.
Yes. Okay. Salute to all recent changes, but mostly Disney Starlight.
Yeah.
It's a Small World has received a restored third verse, originally composed by the Sherman Brothers, that was cut from the attraction and has now been re-injected into the soundtrack.
We don't know why it was cut to begin with, right?
No, I'm assuming for brevity, like just to have like a succinct musical composition.
Okay.
We wrote it to experience this. I don't think it matters at all.
No, and you can only hear it in the last scene. I don't know if it only played in the last scene or if I could only hear it in the last scene. And then it plays over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, they've like dedicated a room to it and they just loop it.
Yeah, they looped it. I thought you said it was going to be like the third verse.
Yes.
But it wasn't. It was just that and then It's a Small World part and then that and then It's a Small World part. And that's the last scene where everything's white that you inevitably get like you're slowed down in there because that's where people are stopping to.
Yeah.
Right ahead of you is where the unloading and loading is happening.
Right.
So you're stuck in there, you're hearing it over and I was like, okay, I get it, we got it. It's a new great. I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad it's original.
It's cute.
Don't know that I'm gonna tell people they need to experience
No,
it.
the impact isn't great. I will say though, the third verse of It's a Small World is, these lyrics are really beautiful.
Yeah.
Mother Earth unites us in heart and mind, and the love we give makes us humankind. Through our vast, wondrous land, when we stand hand in hand, it's a small world after all. The first time I read this to Morgan, I did it in the style of slam poetry. That was very fun for a minute. But I will say, I love these lyrics. It just doesn't come across really.
Yeah, you can't even, if you didn't know those were the lyrics, you can hear like the first maybe sentence or two, and then after that, the audio quality's still not great in here. So
no,
I just don't think go on It's a Small World if you want. I don't feel like you need to go for this.
Agreed. All right. Walt Disney World Railroad has received a minor update while it is a shuttle service.
It's a major update.
Yes, it is a major update because it's temporary, but it's because of the construction of...
it's like half a decade temporary.
Oh my God, that's so true.
He's thinking it's temporary because it's weird, but... for the whole time that they're building Villains Land.
Right.
And Cars Land.
This happened with Tron.
But at least this time they kept it open.
This time they kept it open.
So it just
They're always messing with our poor railroad.
Well, I think they probably got so much backlash about it closing for the whole time Tron was being operated that they're like, fine, we'll just make it go one place and then back.
Enjoy your railroad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind it being a shuttle service while... Okay, what I mean by that is it's only going to Storybook Circus and Fantasyland and then back to Main Street, back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, one stop.
One stop and kind of moving backwards.
It totally moves backwards from Main Street to Storybook Circus. You're going backwards the entire time. And part of the... narration is talking about, like, joking about going backwards. They've moved some of the seats to half the seats, I think, to face backwards.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's weird.
We thought the new narration was cute and a little quirky, but we found Stitch's voice to be strange.
Yeah. And I was like, why hasn't this irritated me before? Because we kind of recently saw the live action Lilo and Stitch movie, but he doesn't actually talk much in that, I thought.
Yeah,
so,
little clumps of speech, whereas
this is like a full-on script for Stitch, and so that was a little wild. But
yes.
Yeah, it'll get you from point A to point B. I don't think it's any more you know what made it for me not something that I'm going to want to keep going on, and this was probably true beforehand.
What?
The squeaking is out of control. You're like going deaf.
I would like the Walt Disney World Railroad to gain a corporate sponsorship
with WD-40.
WD-40.
Yeah. I cannot understand why, like, I would understand some squeaking being like, oh, this is authentic, whatever. This is like damaging to people's ears.
The faces of the people around us.
I actually had to like hold my ears closed, and we were planning to go on it to Storybook and then go back to the front. And I was like, no, we need to get off.
We got off.
Yeah.
Okay, there's also been an update to Test Track. This is not going to be an extensive coverage of that update, just because we've already spent quite a bit of time this episode speaking about other changes, mostly Disney Starlight.
And we will have a YouTube about this, right?
Yes, we're also going to upload a short form
Instagram
kind of version of our opinions of this. But Test Track has received an update. This was pitched to us at D23 as a comprehensive update aesthetically with some nods to World of Motion, which is the attraction that occupied the space that is now Test Track prior to Test Track's opening.
Mm-hmm.
We found the nods to World of Motion to be minimal.
I was hoping this would be like a love letter to past Epcot attractions like World of Motion and Horizons, and yeah, but it wasn't.
Aesthetically, we got a little bit of that kind of stuff in terms of like when the buildings...
More like an Easter egg.
Agreed. It was minimal. When the buildings were lighting up as you drove by, that felt a little old school Epcot to me. And then right before you go into, I guess you could say the launch, like the fast portion of the ride, you're in this like 360 projector screen environment, which reminded me of some old school Epcot things. And those are like aesthetically vaguely Epcot, but in terms of like a tribute to the history of transportation or any of that,
no, that
definitely did not happen.
No, and nor did it get a new fun storyline like I was hoping.
Not really.
So I'm not saying it's a bad ride. It's a fine ride, but I was hoping because the first version of Test Track had a fun story where you're like supposed to be a crash test dummy,
yes,
and you're testing out this car, and it's a fun story. It makes sense. Every time you're doing anything within the ride, you know this is a test for the car. It makes sense.
Right.
Then the second one made no sense. There was no story.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, I didn't really think there was much of a story.
Yeah, theoretically they're testing auto technology for the future of cars, but it doesn't really feel like that.
I don't feel like that really came across.
No, I agree. So, yeah, there are things we like about it. We enjoyed the narration. We enjoyed some of the aesthetic changes. But overall, does it make us super more likely to ride or recommend Test Track as a must-do? Unfortunately, I don't think it crosses that hurdle.
No, I'll go on it if the line's short. I will tell people they should go on it once. I don't think it's like I have to go on this every time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little...
Where if they had made it more of a story-driven, like Disney's so good at...
Driven?
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Look what you did.
Or a love letter to past attractions for those of us that are nostalgic about old school Epcot edutainment. That would have been something that I would have wanted to do over and over and over again, and this didn't hit either of those. So,
yep,
it's just fine. It's just like it was before, I think. Maybe just different. Maybe better in some ways. I liked parts of it. The parts where you're in the city, that was cool. Will it be cool after doing it 20 times? I don't know.
I don't know either. I do prefer this version from the last version, I will say.
But is that because you went on the last version 50 times?
You'd
have to compare it to your first time on the last version.
I agree. I remember my first time riding the new one because it was the first time I was back at Epcot. From having not been there since it was original Test Track.
Okay, so that wasn't that long ago.
No, 2017.
Okay.
And I remember thinking that it was vaguely Tron-inspired.
Agreed.
And that it was very minimalistic and sparse in a way that I did not fully appreciate aesthetically. So I do think this version is slightly an update because I appreciate the aesthetics more. An upgrade, I should say. Because I appreciate the aesthetics more, but I still don't think it has as much impact, no pun intended, as the original Test Track. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's finish up with something that we are genuinely quite happy, I would say, about, which would be a big update to Disney's animation courtyard in Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, and the great thing about this is you can't get any worse than, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a Star Wars fan too. I'm not saying,
Yes.
but it doesn't even, what it is right now is it's a Star Wars meet and greet. Okay. Like,
Yes.
what if that in Star Wars land?
And this isn't cynicism, because we appreciate Star Wars, but we do feel that this has been kind of wasted real estate.
It doesn't make sense since they added Batuu back to the, Galaxy's Edge. This doesn't make sense here anymore.
And this thing that they've announced does get me more excited to go back there than Star Wars did, because it's not like a great Star Wars thing either. It's just a meet and greet and a prop and costume exhibit, which is kind of cool.
And a store.
Yeah, and of course a gift shop. It's kind of cool, but it's not show-stopping.
No, it could be put somewhere else if it needs to exist. You know what I mean?
Yes. I've got high hopes for this, though.
Me too.
I'm going to read a little bit from the press release. Walt Disney Animation Studios in Burbank, California is a place of pure magic. Oh, Now, imagine stepping inside those iconic walls and seeing Disney animation characters leap off the screen into our world.
Exciting.
That was the heart and the premise of the Emmy Award-winning short film Once Upon a Studio, which we very much enjoyed, and soon it will inspire a brand new experience at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Yes, housed in a building reminiscent of the iconic Roy E. Disney Animation Building, this upcoming family experience, the magic of Disney animation, is getting ready to bring the wonder of animation to life like never before, and then they include a poster which I think is so 90s MGM Studios that I kind of love it. It's like all the animated characters ruling the studio together. It looks very fun. In 2026, the current home Star Wars launch bay will transform into a place where kids can dream at heart. Where kids and kids at heart can laugh, draw, dream, and explore animated new experiences. Topping the building will be Mickey's iconic sorcerer's hat, just like the real building in California, which will cast a spell with pixie dust. So what they mean is that the animation building in California, where they're actually animating the movies now, has like this minimalist sorcerer's hat atop it, which they're going to replicate in this version of the attraction. Why people will care about that is because Hollywood Studios famously had a sorcerer's hat, very different stylistically, but a sorcerer's hat nonetheless, in front of the Great Movie Ride for several years in the 2000s.
Which was iconic in its own way. Some people didn't like it because it blocked the Chinese theater, and I get it. I get both sides of this. This won't block anything, so I'm super excited about it.
And it's a fun tribute
to
a really iconic part of the aesthetic past of Hollywood Studios.
The thing that I'm very slightly worried about is that there are a few other places in the Walt Disney World parks where they've got animation stations, and they're just kind of a throwaway. You know what I mean? So, but I think that this is going to be more of a nod to the animation area that used to be.
Yes.
Yeah, and a nod to like old school Hollywood studios where they actually had people animating actual movies. Like, wasn't Mulan animated in this space?
That was something we were really happy to see about the poster itself, because in the foreground of the poster, Stitch is holding Mushu, and both Lilo and Stitch and Mulan were animated not just at Disney's Hollywood Studios, but in that building that this is coming to. Yeah. Which is very fun. The poster also features Genie in his vacation outfit, and that's because Robin Williams filmed something for the animation tour in that vacation outfit, and then the animators used that as a reference for Genie's vacation bit. So there's Robin Williams and MGM history in that, which is very fun. And then there's also Brother Bear in this, which is also animated there on the premises of MGM Animation. Yeah. So lots of cool references already to animation past there.
And if you haven't seen that, it was a short, right? What's it called?
Once Upon a Studio.
If you haven't seen Once Upon a Studio on Disney Plus, you should definitely check that out to get you excited about this, because that was amazing. And they're going to kind of make that happen in the Disney parks. That's super exciting. Yeah. I love the old school throwback to MGM Studios feel that this gives me.
I know. It's like the behind the movie magic old school Disney stuff that we loved.
Yeah.
Coming back in a small way.
Yeah.
Really cool. This says the playful and interactive moments you will see around every corner. You will see portraits come to life before your eyes, just like they did in Once Upon a Studio. And you'll find inspiration with a short film with a twist, of course. And you'll even pencil in some time to learn how to draw and sketch your very own characters. So there will be interactive experiences, a show, and a drawing lesson, like the animation kind of workshops.
I don't think this is going to be e-ticket, but I think it will be fun. Definitely a nice break in AC. Definitely a nod to Disney Past.
Right.
So it's super exciting.
There will also be a new playground in here called Drawn to Wonderland, which is going to be inspired by the Mary Blair concept sketches for Alice in Wonderland, which is cool. I love that art style, so that's exciting. A playground isn't the most impactful thing in the world, but, we'll take it where we can get it, and we think these changes are going to be a much better fit for that space and the history of that space than Star Wars Launch Bay.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah, Star Wars Launch Bay had its place back before Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been going for as long as it did.
I know, it makes no sense.
But we're
that whole area back there was kind of like I don't know.
A mess.
Yeah, a mess.
At least now it's animation
again. Right.
Something I did see
and it's going to be more aimed towards little kids.
Right. More family friendly.
Yeah, because there's that whole Disney Junior area back there. If this area is going to have also a playground or play area, plus a learning to draw is more of a little kid thing. The Little Mermaid show is probably a little bit more aimed towards kids than, let's say, Indiana Jones. So whether you have little kids or not, I think it'll be fun. And especially the historical nostalgia aspect of it, which throw that in there and it's for everybody to some extent. But
totally.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good perspective to have on it, because Hollywood Studios has been getting a lot of updates, but not everything in those updates is family friendly.
Right.
So this is a good family friendly addition to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Something I did notice in the concept art that I saw some people talking about online that Disney has not mentioned in the press release is that it looks like in order to build this, that part of not in order to build this, just a change coming to this, is that it looks like they're going to demolish the archway.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The archway originally was kind of a partition.
Wait, are you sure?
Oof. Yeah, this is where the archway was, and now it's going to be like a planter. So, something that... The archway itself, a lot of people wonder why it's there, because it's not at the front of the park.
Right.
It's in, a weird spot off to the right side of the Great Movie Ride. The reason that it's there is because in the early days of MGM Studios, there was the themed Hollywood section in the front with the old Hollywood buildings and the Great Movie Ride. And then there was a part of the park that was the studio section that had the backlot tour and the animation building. And it was just studio spaces that seemed kind of unthemed. And to get from the themed part to the studio part, you walked through the studio archway, and now you're in the studio bit. And it made a lot of aesthetic sense when that was all the park was.
Yeah.
Was the studio experience, the Great Movie Ride, and then the themed shopping and stuff.
Yeah.
Not even Tower of Terror, nothing, none of that was there. It was just that two halves, the studio half and the themed half.
I a bit hate to lose this arch because of the history, and for those of you listening, if you make it to Hollywood Studios before this gets taken down, look at the the carvings, or it's not the sculpture, it's part of it.
Yeah.
There are carvings in the side of the arches that just are very historical, old school movie, I kind of hate to lose that.
We recently just went over there and just looked at them for a while just to see the intricacies.
Right, just to try to identify everything. We had seen it before, but not really paid attention to everything that was carved in there. It's interesting.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's got that Art Deco,
yes,
old school vibe.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I will be sad to lose that as part of this transformation, but I think we're losing it because they want people to see the sorcerer's hat. So I'll be happy to see the sorcerer's hat, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
You know, that's Hollywood, kid.
Yeah.
All right, this has been a fun little roundup of a bunch of changes that have come to and will come to Walt Disney World Resort. And we would love to hear what you guys think about them. If you would like to let us know, then you can do that by commenting on our social media on Instagram at Neverland Navco and on TikTok at Neverland Navco.
Yeah. We also have an Etsy shop called Neverland Navigation. If there's something you're interested in, like a t-shirt, dish towel, sweatshirt, just go ahead and send me a message on Etsy and let me know what kind of ride, what kind of attraction, what kind of design you're interested in, and I'll send you some ideas. Everything's custom.
All right. Well, until the next set of changes come to Walt Disney World, we'll see you
on our next adventure.
Goodbye.